Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Doctor Strange non-spoilery review. Basically like the Rick and Morty entry into the Marvel Universe. So here we go. You might not believe it, but Dan Harmon actually consulted on certain aspects of the story just to help them, because the way Rick and Morty works is this really complicated multiverse-based show. So Kevin Feige and Scott Derrickson brought him in to talk about some of the crazier stuff they wanted to try in the Marvel Universe. I'll save some of that for my spoilery video next week, but you can just imagine which parts of the movie. Morty, I'm gonna need you to take those Infinity Gems and shove them way up your butt. The funny thing about the Doctor Strange character, when you go way back to the 1960s, which is basically where this pulls from, Steve Ditko, like very classic Doctor Strange, particularly with the visuals, is that his origin story, his character reads a lot like the Iron Man character. So the danger going into this movie, which they totally avoided, is in completely recycling the plot from that first Iron Man movie, which I thought they did a really good job of. Kevin Feige said this interesting thing where he said that the journey that Iron Man goes on in that first Iron Man movie actually isn't that big, so they wanted to take Doctor Strange on a much more complete character arc. Like, even though you might know a little bit about the comic book origin story, really rich asshole surgeon to Sorcerer Supreme, it really is a much bigger shift in his character than Tony Stark goes through during that first Iron Man movie. But I thought they did a really good job of weaving mysticism and the really weird stuff from the Doctor Strange comics into the more cookie-cutter Marvel universe. Like, you go to see an Avengers movie, you know what you're gonna get. So this is really trying to push into new territory, like, look how weird things can get. And one of the biggest ways they do that is with really amazing use of 3D. So if you have the opportunity to go see the movie in 3D, next to Avatar, way back in 2009, I'll say this is one of the best uses of 3D in a movie. So they really had fun with that idea. You may have seen it in some of the trailers, like where they start flipping the screen. So the way they constructed the film, the way they visualized the story is very different from the traditional Avengers MCU films. But the important stuff, what about Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange performance? What about the character that he's created? They've been teasing that he's supposed to be very important to all the movies going forward, so I feel like the real point of failure would be in his performance. Like, Robert Downey Jr. fully became the Iron Man character so much, he so embodied that character that people don't think of Tony Stark when they look at Robert Downey Jr. They just see him and think of Iron Man. So if he were to leave Marvel, like not re-sign any more contracts and not be in movies, it would completely destroy Marvel's ability to use that character. Like, Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark are the same person. It's not like an actor playing a character. He is Tony Stark. So that's kind of the impossible hurdle that you have to jump over with any new characters they introduce. Benedict Cumberbatch is an amazing actor. I did think the English accent was a little bit weird, even though it's accurate. Doctor Strange is an American, so he would speak with an American accent. But I do kind of feel this is one thing they could have changed from the comics. There were a couple impossible situations with the movie, which I'll explain in a second, that they tried to tiptoe around. So I understand if, like, when you first heard him speak with the accent, it was just a little bit weird, but I don't think it drugged the movie down. And I do think that Benedict Cumberbatch was able to do the Robert Downey Jr. to Iron Man transformation. It's really the Stephen Strange part I feel like he doesn't quite get to. There's like this X factor that makes Robert Downey Jr. so lovable in all the movies that he's in, so you don't really mind what he's doing. Like, he just has this power over audiences that makes them love him so much. So I feel like Benedict Cumberbatch, hopefully he'll get to that point in the Marvel Universe, because that's really what you have to do. Like, when you don't get there, that's when people start to nitpick the other little things, like the accent, or the jokes that don't land. And one of the only other weird aspects of the film that I don't feel like quite hammers home as well as it does in some of the other Marvel movies is some awkwardly placed jokes that he has while he's still Stephen Strange. So Stephen Strange, the character, isn't quite so funny. He gets funnier once he becomes Doctor Strange, and the funniest line in the movie arguably comes from Mads Mikkelsen's character. So you guys can let me know if you agree, but I feel like they can work on the humor just a little bit for the next time Doctor Strange appears. So, no spoilers for post-credit scenes or anything like that. There are two. Make sure you stay through the entire film through the credits, but I'll talk about that when I post a spoilery Easter egg video. But I feel like the other biggest complaints that I've heard that people have had have been not enough of the actors that they really like in the film. So there are a bunch of characters, and just like any Marvel movie, there are certain people that get more screen time than others. So there's some like really amazing actors like Benjamin Bratt that have really small roles that you're like, please bring him back in the sequel. We want to see way more of this. So even like the director, Scott Derrickson, has said that there are a bunch of characters that he would love to double down on in future movies that they just didn't have time to get to in this movie. So, obviously you can imagine the most important characters get the most screen time. You have Tilda Swinton, Benedict Cumberbatch, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Rachel McAdams, who even though she's actually a pretty important character for Stephen Strange, isn't as big as you would think she would be in the movie. Wong Mads Mikkelsen's character, Caecilius. And there are a lot of people I've seen, who have trouble following Caecilius's storyline, but I feel like it's mostly non-comic book people, which is a typical problem from Marvel movies where, you have like a big villain character, somebody from the comics who, comic book people are familiar with. So even if they don't like completely spell out their plan in great excruciating detail, you just hear words like multiverse, other dimensions, and your mind kind of makes the leap to the characters that populate those places, so you're fine. But if you haven't read the comics, it's a little confusing. So like if you took your parents to see the movie, they might follow Mads Mikkelsen because he's an amazing actor, but they might not fully understand the ramifications of what he's doing and how big it is. But I feel like that's okay. It's a typical comic book movie problem where you have an underdeveloped villain. So without giving away spoilers, there's a big character that's a villain from the comics in the movie that is not a villain in this movie that will probably be the villain of the next movie, and it'll become more of a Winter Soldier style movie that focuses more on the villain character. So it's really a moot point if you're a big comic book movie fan. You're kind of used to this and you're following this overarching Infinity Gauntlet storyline. You're looking for certain language, characters saying certain names from the comics. So in that way, Doctor Strange is like packed with a bunch of stuff that you've never seen before in a Marvel movie. So this is one of those Marvel movies that you like really have to be alert for to catch all the Easter eggs, because it's largely unfamiliar territory in the MCU. So bunch of new characters, bunch of new locations, bunch of new concepts, particularly multiverse, multiple dimensions. So even though the movie might seem like Pink Floyd Laser Light Show that you would take drugs to go see, make sure you see it at least once when you're like fully alert so that you can pick up all the Easter eggs in the background. In the Sanctum Sanctorum is amazing. It's just a lot like Odin's Vault. There's stuff all over the background. It'll take like 3 or 4 times watching the movie to catch it all. And without completely giving it away, there were a bunch of different Marvel directors that used the Sanctum after they finished filming the movie to film different scenes with other characters. Like they waited to tear down the set so that other directors could have some fun with it. So the tease I will leave you with is that James Gunn himself shot the next 4 Stan Lee cameos. So he shot cameos with Stan Lee for other people's movies, and it was all in the same place. So just be on the lookout when you go see the movie. So that's really only the beginning. So there's a whole bunch of Easter eggs that I'll talk about in another video that'll post like next Thursday or Friday. So be sure to subscribe to get it. Let me know what kind of Doctor Strange videos you want. Once everybody's had a chance to see it, there's like so much stuff that we have to talk about for Phase 3. There's like so many videos that I've wanted to make this week that you can't really make until people see the movie because it gets into spoilers. But you can imagine it has to do with Avengers, it has to do with Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos, Infinity Gauntlet stuff. So there's just like a lot of stuff that's going on with the Doctor Strange universe of characters. And then you have like all the other larger Avengers stuff that's going on in the MCU. So while I don't think that Doctor Strange is going to outgross the Iron Man films, or it's not going to outgross the Avengers films, I think creatively I gave it a lot of bonus points because it tried to do a lot of different things. Like they did a really good job of not making it this cookie cutter movie made on a factory assembly line. So as of now, Phase 3 is looking really cool. I'm so jazzed up about Thor 3. I can't wait to see how weird it is. They've been teasing that it's so different from the other Thor movies that it's not really a sequel, even though technically it's still a sequel. But let me know in the comments, what was your favorite thing about Doctor Strange? And if you're going to post spoilers, just be sure to use the space bar to go below the fold so that, people don't see it, because it's going to be another week or so until the rest of the world sees the film. But then we can talk all about it. It's going to be so much fun. So just a reminder, if you haven't seen it in 3D, like if you've already seen it once, I would recommend that you see it in 3D if you have the chance. But what's going to happen next is I'll be posting a Suicide Squad Joker cut video. There's like a Joker cut of the movie, like an extended cut with a bunch of Joker stuff that didn't make it into the final cut of the film that I'll do a video for explaining. Jared Leto, kind of went on record saying, I feel deceived. There was all this Joker stuff that we cut. I felt like I was going to be in the movie, and I was barely in there. So I'll do a video explaining what that's about. That'll post tonight. So while you guys wait for that video to post, you can click down here for that, big behind-the-scenes Thor Ragnarok video, and you can click here to watch the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer again. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.
There are two types of beings in the universe.